This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
Hi everybody, namaskar, good morning, good evening. Welcome to Storytellers Cafe and I'm your host Usha Venkatraman. Storytellers Cafe is every Sunday at 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time and 10:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. But I guess from the 13th we will be moving up to 11:30. That's right, summer, with the onset of summer and spring. Well, it certainly is spring in India. We have Holi in just about 2 weeks' time. And we just celebrated the holy night of Shiva, Shivaratri. My guest tonight is all about storytelling through movement. What is storytelling and movement? A dance, like a song, often tells a story with a beginning, middle, and end. Stories have been carried down over generations through different media. Before the arrival of language, stories used to be told with movement and rhythm. In fact, the earliest man discovered rhythm in the varying heartbeats in his body. Nowadays, how important is the role of a story in dance? As children, many have watched dance performances. Even I, as a young girl. Before people knew of gestures, techniques, and genre, the focus was always on the story, the dance narrated to the audience. It was always the story, the dance narrated to the audience. As people grew up, the mind got conditioned to analyze and critique the movement and technique of the performer. But my friends, the backbone of the performance seems to be forgotten here, the story being told. Dances are often being critiqued for the emotions conveyed by the dancers. However, the emotions are ultimately dictated by the story that is being told. Hence, it is imperative that the focus of any dance performance should be on conveying the story effectively. Now, let me take Bharatanatyam, since our guest tonight is a Bharatanatyam dancer as well as a musician. There are two elements to dance, the Abhinaya and the Nritta. While Abhinaya is the storytelling part, Nritta is the pure dance element that is not dependent on the story, but involves movement, body language, and emotion. Sometimes the movements make the story. Now, friends, without further ado, let me get my guest tonight. It's my friend and a partner in crime, Anupama Devarajan from Mumbai, India. Anupama, welcome to Storytellers Cafe. It's a pleasure to host you. A long time in coming.
Hi, Usha. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here in the studio with you today. And actually, when you first asked me to be a guest on Storytellers Cafe, I was quite taken aback, to be very honest, because I never thought of myself or called myself a storyteller so far. I have always called myself a singer, a dancer, and various other things, but never really put on just a cap of a storyteller. But as I thought about it, I just realized that from my early childhood, the times when my parents, grandmother, and aunt used to read stories to me or make me sleep with songs, to the time that I was learning music and dance, my whole journey of being a musician or a dancer, it has always been about stories, about conveying a message or a story to an audience. In my younger avatar, it just used to be telling stories to my dolls in my room. And then later it broadened to telling stories through music and through dance on stages to a real live audience. So, yes, I guess everybody is a storyteller in some form or the other. So, I'm very happy to be here with you today, here, Usha.
In fact, we are very happy to host you, especially I, because Anu, we have worked together in the last 1 year, and Anupama has also been my music teacher since 10 years back. I have been learning music. She's an amazing musician. Let us uncover the mysteries of Anupama. Anupama is just not merely a classical musician or a classical dancer, though that is your avatar today. But you have a very interesting background. Like I always ask my guests, where did you begin? What was your journey? How did you get into the field of dance, movement, music, and storytelling?
Well, so it starts right at the beginning. In my early childhood, growing up in Chennai, like every other kid in Chennai, I was born in a typical Tambram family, and academics was always given a lot of importance. However, since my mother as well as my grandmother were singers in their own right, I got introduced to music at a very young age. My aunt even now jokes sometimes that music was something that you started learning for our sake, but dance was something that you wanted to learn for your own self. So apparently, the story goes that I pestered my mother again and again until at about 6 or 7 years old. When I was around 6 or 7 years old, she took me to my first guru, Jayanti Subramaniam in Chennai, and that's how my journey with dance started. Of course, music was a different story. I have had amazing exposure to stalwarts in Chennai, growing up in a cultural hub like Chennai for classical art forms. I have learned from several musicians such as Sulochana Pattabhiraman, Suguna Purushothaman, Kedar Nath, and Trichy J. Venkatraman, and currently Srimati Radha Namboodiri. And what I realized through my story, the story of my journey of music, is that teachers are of different kinds. All of them are highly technically excellent. However, there was this first teacher of mine, Vanaja Vishwanathan. She used to actually make stories out of the fingers of the hand. She used to tell me stories of how each finger wants to come in a different order to teach me how to put talam. That was to a kid who is about 4 or 5 years old. So that was how I was actually introduced to music, and that's how music became a very big part of my life. But to a standard 8 or 10 year old, when you start teaching them music, it can be considered a drudgery to go through the same sangatis, the same sarali varsais, the same alankarams over and over again. That sometimes classical art forms tend to get boring for youngsters of today. So, in order to change that and to add my two bits to the whole journey of music for everybody around me, when I started my academy, Vidya Vardhini, I decided to always make sure I continue to innovate, improvise, and add something different to the curriculum so that apart from learning the regular foundation exercises, we learn a few small songs through stories, and I make it a point to always tell the backstory behind every song or explain the meaning so that children and adults alike can appreciate and understand what they are singing and start singing for the love of it. So, here at this point, I would just like to share a small song that I had made a few weeks ago to introduce the ragam Mohanam to kids, especially for kids. And this is about the story, the famous story of the lion and the mouse. So, let me just play it for you. And of course, being a dancer, I can't pass up the opportunity to also enact to it while it plays. So this is a recording that I just did at home. I'm going to play it now. A story in Rag Mohanam of the lion and the mouse. एक दिन जंगल में जंगल का राजा घूम रहा था. एक दिन जंगल में जंगल का राजा घूम रहा था. रोड 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 भूखा शेर
घूम रहा था, खाना मिला नहीं, थक चुका था, भूख लगी थी, क्या करता था? अचानक आया छोटा चूहा, शेर ने कूदा, चूहा पकड़ा, छोड़ दो मुझे मिस्टर शेर, प्रॉमिस तेरा फ्रेंड बनूंगा। शेर था अच्छा दिल से सच्चा, चूहा को छोड़ दिया। फिर एक दिन शिकारी आया, उसका जाल में शेर फंस गया। उसका दोस्त चूहा आया, जाल को काटा, आजाद कर दिया। जंगल का राजा छोटा चूहा, साथ रहे दोस्ती में। मोहन वन में शेर और चूहा, साथ रहे दोस्ती में, साथ रहे दोस्ती में, साथ रहे दोस्ती में। सारे ग सारे गा प ध स सा द प स द प ग रे सा। सारे ग सारे गा प ध स सा द प स द प ग रे सा। सा द प ग रे सा। सा द प ग रे सा।
So this was a small story and a song, something to entertain kids. And but I have found that a lot of adults also find this very interesting because there are mudras, there is some action to do, and at the same time, through the song, all the alankars of Mohanam, the patterns that are with Mohan, like sa ga re re pa ga ga da pa pa sa da sa re re ga ga pa da. All those are incorporated as well. So while singing the song, the kids end up learning the patterns as well. So it doesn't seem like drudgery anymore. It becomes quite interesting.
Not at all, not at all, Anu. In fact, I've just been waiting to step in. I wanted to talk about that a foundation for 21st century learning is to inspire children. Forget children, inspire people to explore, experience, and create. And I think that's what you did. You synthesized music, dance, rhyme, chants, right? And to a storytelling scene. And the story experience was even more enriched. So I'm sure you would agree with me, right?
Yes.
So this is something which you beautifully synthesized and told us, and I just loved it. And I'm sure every preschool teacher would enjoy it, or every caregiver, every primary, pre-primary, definitely a teacher would really enjoy this. This is integrating music, movement, abhinaya a little bit, story in the dance. That was lovely. Thank you so much. Anu, moving on, can you tell us about, because I'm dying to tell everyone that what does an investment banker who was working in the United Kingdom in London, flourishing, in the heart of the big world of finance, has transformed into a musician and a dancer? Can you tell us about that journey, that story?
Sure. So that story starts around the time I finished my engineering degree. I did computer engineering in Chennai. Till that time, I was very keen. My family was very sure that I would have to remain in Chennai so that I would get the full benefit of being with the art form and having that atmosphere and learning dance and music, because by then I was performing quite often. So after I finished engineering, though, on one hand was a job offer from a software firm in Chennai, and on the other hand was a call from IIM Ahmedabad. So that was a big decision for me at that time, for all of us. And of course, I took the latter, and I ended up going on to continue my academics. So that was a conscious decision that I had taken at that point, since I felt that would be the path where which I would follow. And I must say that the 2 years at IIM that I spent in Ahmedabad have really enriched me and shaped me as a person in many ways. So even more than the academics, I learned a lot of things. First, that was the first time I was completely on my own, from being a sheltered person in Chennai, sheltered little girl. So I was out fending for myself, and it was a whole new world out there. And I learned how to work under pressure. I learned how to multitask, how to structure one's work in terms of the mental workload and come out on top, despite any kind of extreme pressures we face in daily lives. And of course, being a team player and still being a leader and leading the team to success was all part of the learning that has actually helped me in a lot of ways, and continues to help me even now. And the other part about my 2 years at Ahmedabad was that, from someone who had never sung a single Bollywood song, or a song for that matter, before, suddenly there was this whole bunch of people who were singing Bollywood, who were singing light music, ghazal, Hindustani. So the exposure was phenomenal. And in fact, at that time, I also ended up picking up quite a few Bollywood songs. And at the urging of some of my seniors, I even participated in Saregama. And I think I even moved on to the state semi-finals or something at that time. But that was a whole new learning experience. Of course, after that, when I joined Merrill Lynch as an investment banker, I spent a year in Hong Kong, and I spent about 4 to 5 years in London working very crazy hours. But thanks to my passion for music and dance, and thanks to the push from my family, I did continue my journey alongside this fast track career. So it was a hectic time, but where there is a will, there is a way. So I used to, in fact, spend a whole of the Sunday morning traveling 2 hours each way by train to train with a teacher, a very sweet teacher in London called Usha Raghavan and her group. And we even did ticketed shows in London, and it was amazing working with a totally different set of people for me. And of course, music concerts also used to go on. I used to perform regularly at the Indian community temples and for other functions when I was in London as well. But then around the time we started thinking about moving back to India and starting a family, I kind of felt that this was the opportunity for a slight pause and kind of realigning and rethinking about what I want to do and what I'm passionate about. Even though my career was zooming on track and it was all going very fine, I decided to take a small break. And when we moved back, I also had my daughter around the time. And I ended up taking a small consulting assignment with a financial advisory firm, which would also help me manage my own time better while I did work. And also I could take care of my daughter, and I could also pursue my passions of music and dance a little bit more seriously. And that is also when I started my academy. So again, the time in London was phenomenal because it exposed me to a lot of cultures, people from all over the world. Because both Hong Kong and London are very cosmopolitan, and you see people from all over the world there. So a lot of multicultural experience and exposure. So that was a really amazing time. But again, like I said, when I moved back to Bombay, I felt that this transition was long waiting to happen. So despite being very financially, academically inclined, I really wanted to take up music and dance a little bit more seriously, due to which now over the past few years, I have, it's like both of them are fighting for space in my life. And one seems to be winning right now.
And yes, thank you, Anu. And that's when I met Anupama Devarajan sometime in 2011, when I started learning music with her for some time. And of course, being a mother and traveling, I did not continue, my bad. But I always knew Anu, and we've been in touch. So, Anu, you're the quintessential Indian woman who can, juggle multiple, I would say, multiple jobs, multiple occupations, because dance is an occupation, music is working part-time in a consulting firm, is being a mother, being a wife, and of course being one of the moms who attends PTA, that's also. So it's a great job that you are shouldering, and hats off to you. Hats off to all the mothers, who do this. We Indian women.
There
And
is that multitasking woman in all of us, because I'm sure you
yeah,
as well wear so
yeah,
many hats. Yeah, yeah. So that way, I think all of us are, we probably just don't know it yet, but we are unconsciously definitely having that Durga kind of avatar with a lot of hands.
yes, of course. I may not have worked, but I know that I'm a multifaceted personality who juggled many things. Above all, being a mother, hands down, completely a mother foremost, and a helicopter mother with my children. Anyway, moving on to you, Anu. Do you have something for us, a story that you would like to share with the audience?
Yes, yes, sure. Before I share the story that I have in mind for all of you today, I would like to rewind back a little bit to the time that I came to Mumbai. And as a dancer and as a musician, there has been a lot of learning that has happened, especially over the past couple of years. From the times that I was in Chennai to now, I have worked with so many people. I have had exposure to so many people, different kinds of dance, different kinds of music, different kinds of work atmospheres. I feel every single thing has enriched me in some way or the other. And especially in Bombay, in terms of dance, I have actually done a lot of working on new kinds of choreography. I got the fortune to have Geetha Venkateswar as my mentor and my guru. And we have done a lot of these dance drama productions where I was exposed to more of theatrical approach to dancing as well, apart from the more traditional Margam oriented dance that I was used to coming from the traditional Chennai ways. So that has also been a big eye opener, and I've had the opportunity to work on many of my own new choreographies. And I would also like to just, in that context, show a small clipping, Usha, if you don't mind, of one of the recent collaborations that I have done with Usha herself, which where I portray Shurpanakha. So into this, like Usha said at the very beginning, dance, we tell a story through dance, but then the musical element, how we compose the music for it, and how we incorporate different rhythm, different sounds, as well as of course the theatrics, the mudras, while still conforming to dance pure Bharatanatyam norms, while not stepping outside the limits, but still bringing that kind of an experience to the audience, and having them live the story that you are living. That when I'm a dancer or a singer, my family, my grandmom especially, always used to say, and many of my gurus as well, that you always have to learn the meaning of what you're singing and put yourself in the composer's shoes. So when I sing something or when I dance something, I just make myself the character, and I hope that the same rasa transports to the audience who is viewing the show. So with that, I'll just share a small clipping of Shurpanakha that we had done for our collaboration, Ramayana.
Yes, Anu, that was wonderful. It takes me back to Surpanaka in the forest trying to entice Lakshman and then Rama. It's been wonderful to synthesize, synchronize these three, four art forms together and make it into a compelling story. Now, as a storyteller, I could only tell the story using words and maybe some images like puppets. But when you incorporate, blend it with music and dance, it just brings the story alive and so much more interesting, enticing, entertaining, and so much of information. And there is no language. So you're listening to the movement and the dance and the song. You may not even understand the lyrics, the words of the song, but the dancer is portraying the song in her movement. So I've been really impressed as a young girl by watching dancers, dance use like Padmini Ragini by Kamala, R.K. Lakshman's first wife, Kamala the dancer, and Manohar's dramas. And it's just taken me to a beautiful world of storytelling through the different mediums, right? Dance, music, drama, theater, and of course, storytelling as well. So this was wonderful, Anu.
Best thing
Would you like to share? Yes,
Yeah,
please
no,
go.
the best thing about dance and music is that it stimulates more than one sense organ. While your eyes are watching the movement and watching the expressions on the face of the dancer, your ears are automatically hearing the music. So I think this multi-sensory approach through an audio visual medium is what really brings the story alive and helps to connect to the audience. And in dance terms, we call it the rasa that is induced in the audience. Is what is finally communicated, and that is when the message goes loud and clear. And on
Anu,
this, you
yeah,
had asked to share a story.
yeah,
So, yeah. So, one story that I had planned to share today, which is very dear to me, and it has come a long way from my childhood days. When I was very small, I heard the story from one Swami Paramarthananda in Chennai, and he had come home for on New Year's Day to bless us and share some wisdom with us. And this is a story that resonates with me in different stages of my life, ever since my childhood. When I think of the story, I have again and again thought of the story in different situations, and it has actually proved relevant through the years. So this is something that I would like to share today. So let me
please.
start the story without further ado. Once upon a time, long, long ago, as the case with most other stories, there was a very beautiful kingdom. There was a beautiful kingdom on the banks of a lovely perennial river, which made the kingdom prosper and flourish in all abundance. So, agriculture was great, trade flourished, the people were so content and happy, and they had nothing more they could wish for. And this kingdom was ruled very wisely by a council of ministers who took care of all the problems of the citizens and solved it immediately. On the other side of the river, there was a very big, dense forest, dense jungle, so dense that the sunlight couldn't even creep through the canopy of trees and reach the floor. It was that thick, and it was said that there were a lot of wild animals unknown, and anybody who went or wandered into the forest would never return alive. And but the wild animals did never encroach into the kingdom, so the citizens were very happy and safe, and they all lived very happily. Now, what was different about this kingdom? It had just one rule, that the king could be any citizen. Even if you or I wanted to be the king, we could be the king. But the king can only rule for a period of 5 years. At the end of 5 years, exactly on the last day, with all pomp and with the band playing and with a lot of fanfare, he would be taken and ferried across the river and left to go into the jungle, never to be seen again. This was the unique rule of this country. So as a king for 5 years, you could enjoy all the pleasures of the palace, of the wealth, everything. But at the end of 5 years, that was it. You were destined to enter the forest. A lot of people really wanted to be the king because they knew that they could enjoy a lot in those 5 years, and they really wanted to. So people used to be the king. And then on the last day, they would cry and wail, and they literally had to be dragged by the council of the ministers into the boat that would ferry them across the river. Thus was the state. Slowly people some citizens were scared to become the king because after 5 years, they were doomed. However, one fine day, one of the citizens approached the council and wanted to be the king, the next king. So his rule started. He had a very happy time. 1 year passed. He enjoyed all the luxuries of the kingdom. He enjoyed all powers. He enjoyed all the riches. And he was a very nice, wise king. And with the help of the Council of Ministers, he ruled very well. The citizens were happy. 2 years passed, 3 years passed, 4 years passed, and the 5th year dawned. And as the 5th year progressed, usually all the ministers used to notice that the king would become, not this king, in general, the previous kings, they all used to become a little bit moody, gloomy, distance themselves from the affairs of state, and act a little bit because they were disturbed about what was going to come the end of the year. But this king, strangely, was still very happy, and he was doing all his work, and he was going on as if nothing had happened. They were all very surprised to see this. On the last day, they thought at least now realization would dawn, and the king would start screaming and fighting like all the other kings. But no, he was still very happy, and they said, now you have to leave. You have to go to the forest. The boat is waiting for you. He said, yeah, I know. And with a big smile, he entered the boat. Everybody was astonished. The boatman asked him, how are you like this? All the other kings cry and moan, and they even try to jump into the water to avoid going into the forest. But how are you so calm? To which this king replied with a smile, I knew 5 years ago what was going to happen. You know what is waiting for me in the jungle? Deep inside the jungle, I have already arranged for a whole army of workers to build me a new kingdom there. And whoever from this kingdom wanted to migrate, I've already spoken to them. And in fact, on the other side, deep in the jungle, a beautiful kingdom, an equally prosperous kingdom is waiting for me. And all my wise ministers there are waiting for me to come there with a garland. They are waiting for me. So I knew what was coming 5 years ago, and I planned this so that I would not feel gloomy on this day, and I would have something to look forward to, that I would be prepared for the life to come. So to me, this little lesson on preparedness seemed very relevant. As a kid, as a child, to all the small children who are listening to us today, preparedness is very important because if you have exams, exams are coming a month away, but then you don't study, you go down to play. And then the last day, just before the exam, you are cramming with the book and, oh my God, I have so much to study. Why? You knew it was coming. Be prepared. As an employee, as a student, a project is coming. Why do you have to wait? You have to be prepared. And further down our journey in life, if I may go off on a little bit philosophical tangent here, we know that we are going to become old someday. So we have to prepare our body and our minds to get ready for old age. And again, when we are old, we have to prepare our minds to, for the final exit. So there is always some level of preparedness that we have to do. which we have to be aware of. And I feel in some ways this ties in beautifully with my journey as an artist, music and dance. Because music and dance, in many ways, to me, is not just a passion or a hobby. It operates on a deeper level within. When I dance or when I'm singing, I'm elevated to a different level. I lose myself in the art form, and that really transports one to a different plane altogether. And that experience refines our thought process, our mental faculties. It has a lot of effect on the soul, body, and mind. And on this note, I'm reminded of a small song that I have grown to really love, that I have listened several times to MS Amma singing this song, which is very relevant to what I just said. I'll just sing a snippet and explain what it says. நாதன் நாமம் நீ பஜின்றே நாளை என்பார் யாரே கண்டார். நாதன் நாமம் நீ பஜின்றே நாளை என்பார் யாரே கண்டார். ஆதலால் பவரோகம் ஒழிந்திடவே ஈசன் மலர்பதமே மனமே கணமும் மறவாதே ஜெகதீசன் மலர்பதமே. In this song, it says, நாளை என்பார் யாரை கண்டார். That is a Tamil word that means who knows what is going to happen tomorrow. So don't let go of today. Be in the present and make sure you do whatever you want to do today. Of course, here it says chant the name of God, but it need not necessarily be just about a religion or about a God. It's about being prepared. So do what you want today and not postpone it to tomorrow. And the second stanza is even more beautiful, which says, நடயும் தளர தேகமோடுங்க. நடயும் தளர. When your footstep starts weakening, your stride is not strong anymore. Degam odunga, your body starts shriveling and growing smaller as you grow older. நடயும் தளர தேகமோடுங்க நாவது குழற கண்கள் மங்க. நடையும் தளர தேகமோடுங்க நாவது குழற கண்கள் மங்க. என்ன சிவாய். What it says is nadayum talara degam odunga navadu kulara. When your speech is not clear anymore, you start fumbling. And kangal manga, when your eyesight starts dimming, what will you do then? Who will be your strength? Where will you get your strength from? nadayum talara degam odunga navadu kulara கண்கள் மங்க. என்ன செய்வாய் துணையார் வருவார் அன்று ஈசன் மலர்பதமே மனமே கணம் மறவாதே ஜெகதீசன் மலர்பதமே. Oh mind, don't waste even a single moment and chant the God's name or pray. So, but again, like I said, it need not be just about a God or a faith or a religion. It just means you need to get that mental strength from the energy that the universe has to offer you. And you have to just make your mind, body, and spirit strong.
Absolutely. Anupama, I think on that note, it is so profound that when your steps falter, when your speech also you start you are not able to be coherent, and when your eyes also are not very sharp, and then so this whole theme of preparedness is so apt today, to be prepared. That's what we say for unforeseen contingencies. What have you done? How have you prepared? Wonderful. What an appropriate story for our times and how applicable it is. Thank you. So you see, friends, listeners, and viewers, that Anupama is a consummate storyteller, dancer, singer, because storytelling, music, dance are all integrated. They're not separate. They are all intertwined. And it's only sometimes a storyteller like me would use the oral narrative, but also interspersed with music. But when you integrate the three art forms, or more than the three art forms, it makes for a very compelling and compulsive storytelling. And that's what, in fact, we have collaborated in this pandemic. And thank you, Anupama. It was so wonderful to talk to you. And it's always been inspirational for me because I go beyond. I also test myself and go beyond the realm of even storytelling. So it's been an absolutely wonderful journey for me in the last 1 year since we've been collaborating, and we wish you all the best. Storytellers Cafe is indeed very happy and I would say proud to host you. And you imparted such wisdom at such a young age. So, is there any other parting shot that you would like to tell our viewers and listeners?
Let's all come prepared on the other side of this, and let's go back soon to let's just take things one day at a time, and be in the present, and make sure we are very prepared for tomorrow, what is to come tomorrow.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you,
And
and I
here I want to
would like to.
add, yeah, sorry, there is no tomorrow, it's only the present, only today. So, it's today that counts. Go on, sorry, go on.
No, I just wanted to thank you, Usha, for having me here in the studio, and I wanted to thank Bharat FM and Storytellers Cafe for hosting me today. And it's been an absolute pleasure being a part of this. And I just, apart from being a musician and a dancer, I'm very happy to actually share a story, and I really enjoy telling the story as well. So it's
What a
really.
wonderful story. What a wonderful story, which I'm going to share. Stories are meant to be shared. And this is, you said it's written by which spiritual guru or learned master?
So this
The,
was narrated to us by Swami Paramarthananda in Chennai. I think I've read somewhere that this has also been told by Swami Chinmayananda at times. Apparently, it was a favorite story of his. So it has come through different spiritual masters and holds a very important message, of course.
Absolutely. I loved it. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Always giving me the surprise element, you know. And that is Anupama Devarajan's USP, my friends. The surprise element when you least expect it and it comes. So thank you and wishing you all the best, Anu. And
Thank
may we collaborate more and bring up wonderful stories from the Indian scriptures because they have so much wisdom. And working on those has been a wonderful, luminous journey for me. I don't know how it's been for you. We are showcasing one of our stories on the occasion of Shivratri. And we also have something on this festival of colors, the festival of love, festival of making right all the wrongs, all that where you kind of level with all your friends and enemies and whatever, and keep your slate clean. We have something for you again for the lovely festival of Holi. Right, Anu?
Yes.
Please have the last word.
Yeah, I've had a wonderful journey collaborating with you actually over the last 1 year, especially. The pandemic in many ways has expanded my day in some ways, that, so much of travel that's avoided, and so much of interesting things that can be done with our creativity. So this collaborative journey has really been good. We have worked on quite a few productions, and each one has been an eye opener for me as well. Exploring new ideas, thinking of something new each time to present, something different. And of course, the scriptures always have so much wisdom to offer as well. So it's been really amazing, Usha.
Thank you, Anu. Thank you, everybody. Hope you had a wonderful evening. Please do drop in your comments on the chat box. We would love to hear from you. Do tell us from where you are listening. You can also write your comments on the YouTube channel of Bharat FM. And we are happy to bring you stories every Sunday night at 9 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Good night and a good day to all. Yeah.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.